If Nigeria was a functional democracy where the rule of law prevails, Bola Ahmed Tinubu had no business running for the office in the first place. That he was allowed to come this far, to have won the nomination of his party, and then to have been fraudulently declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission is a testament to the fact that Nigeria is not working as it should. And therefore, I don't find it surprising that there are alleged efforts to also compromise the judiciary who will hear that case. For instance, what we have been seeing consistently in the Nigerian judicial process is that the cases are not won by the strength and merits of your arguments and the evidences presented. For instance, if that meeting happened in London and efforts were made to compromise the judiciary even before, because as of today, the Court of First Instance has not even had the case. The Court of First Instance being the Election Petition Tribunal, which, as you would know, is populated by justices of the appeal court, who would decide in the first instance. And then the candidates or the parties involved, if they don't believe that justice has been done, will approach the Supreme Court. So you have several days before the Supreme Court had not even been approached, and there were meetings in the night or alleged attempted meetings in the night to compromise those justices of the Supreme Court. So you see what you're dealing with, that you're not dealing with the strength and merit of your argument, that you are dealing with a possibly compromised judiciary. That is why it's important that as the civil litigation is building up, to make the case that this guy is not qualified to run, to make the case that he did not get the lawful votes, to make the case that he did not get the 25% as required by the law, that as you are building your civil litigation case, that it's important that we initiate criminal proceedings against them in any jurisdiction where they might have offended. If we find them liable of criminal infractions in the United States, Nigerians living in the United States should sue them in the United States. If we find evidences of criminal infractions against them in the United Kingdom, Nigerians in the United Kingdom should contribute money and sue them in the United Kingdom. For instance, do we know whether Arewolo or whatever his name is have properties in the United States or in the UK, for instance, or bank accounts in those countries? Do we know whether he has bank accounts in Switzerland? Can we look into those things and try to find out? And then when we find out, can we establish that there was a connection? Do we have an establishment that these monies were made from illegal dealings? And if that is the case, then we can make arguments to the courts, especially in the jurisdictions where they have committed those infractions, to tell them that, look, this man can be parading himself as the Chief Justice of Nigeria or anything he calls himself, but look, he is a common criminal and this is the evidence of his criminal infraction. So I believe that even while we have a good case in court, I have seen the document that P2B filed in court. I've also seen what Atiku filed in court. And I think that both lawyers made brilliant cases as to why Tinubu has no business becoming even a candidate, let alone being declared the president-elect. And that argument is solid. Right? But if things are working, that the judiciary is stable, you will be fair to expect what the reasonable judgment will be. But when you have a state capture, then they can, on technicalities, for instance, one of the technicalities could be, and I'm not making excuses, for instance, you know that the case about forfeiting of money in the United States happened in the United States. What if the Supreme Court, for instance, says, oh no, you know this guy was tried, he was alleged to have done this in the United States. By the way, United States is different from Nigeria, so no court has tried and found him guilty in Nigeria, therefore we uphold his election. What if they make that case? So there are a lot of technicalities to break even. The Supreme Court, once it is compromised, can find excuses to unhook even the worst criminal. And then if they want to, they can also find excuses to jail even the most righteous person. So this is the kind of system you are dealing with. That is why I encourage young Nigerians and those who have the resources to make every effort, not just to allege that there are attempted criminal infractions, but to bring the evidence to prove to the world and prove to the courts, both in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. And then even if we don't file cases in court against them, we can use those evidences as a tool to lobby international governments, especially the United States, UK, to withdraw their support from these people and insist that Nigeria's judiciary does something important. In Kenya, it happened. Kenya Supreme Court upruled or upturned a presidential election. And they did not do that by just mere word of mouth. It was a lot of diplomatic efforts. It was, yes, the lawyers made a good case in court, but there were also backroom channel dealings that forced the court justices to sit up and do and rule the matter based on the evidences before them. So I invite Nigerians to look for those evidences and then use those evidences to lobby international partners, because Nigeria is not alone. Nigeria is one country in a committee of nations. Yes, you argue it is sovereign, it is independent, but as a global player, There is also some kind of peer-to-peer review, peer pressures that this country can succumb into if given the right prodding. So I'm expecting young Nigerians to continue the good work that they've been doing thus far and to even intensify it.
Okay.